Hi, marvelous viewers. I hope today's been a great day indeed for you all. But if the opposite is the case, then I hope that this video makes your day, because I'm pretty sure that this video did lure you into our world for a pretty valid reason. And since you've already landed, I surmise that you might be really into films about monsters, be they underwater, terrestrial, or even paranormal. So here's the question I'd like to present before we start today's video. What if the most disturbing monsters aren't hiding beneath the bed frame, but are actually lurking around us, somewhere enormous, way beyond mere human comprehension? No wonder why every once in a while we are made to stumble upon a film that explores this familiar concept, however, in a way that makes these very monsters look more disturbing and grotesque, even if they have undeniably terrified us for decades. And this is why in today's video, we're not going to talk about the usual blockbuster creature features and hero battles, because this time, we're about to explore monster features that go beyond simpler destruction and turn out to be really fearsome, either due to the sheer scale of them or some other aspects. Yes, we're absolutely going to dive into 10 such brilliant films that nobody dares to recommend, either because the film is just simply underappreciated, or because nobody just seemed to understand its significance back when it hit the silver screens. Hi, this is Pete Ferrand, back in yet another marvelous video, and let's start our video without any further ado. Monstrum 2018. Kicking off our list is the 2018 South Korean period action horror creature feature titled Monstrum, because I don't think there's anything better than a Korean horror movie to start our day, especially if you're a huge fan of horror cinema. Did you love watching every bit of Colony? Well, I did, and here's why I decided to keep Monstrum on the list. Well, for those who are video game enthusiasts, you probably might have been confused by the name because a 2015 video game under the same name also exists. Just to clarify, the 2018 film is not an adaptation of it, nor is it inspired by it by any means. Starring Kim Myung-min, Kim In-kwon, Lee Hae-ri, and Choi Woo-shik in prominent roles. The film was screened at the Sitges International Fantastic Film Festival, and surprisingly, this monster horror film is actually super amazing. It concerns Yoon Ga-yeom, a faithful subject of King Jungjong of Joseon, who faces off against the monster that poses a threat to Jungjong. Ridiculously enough, the monster in this film, the titular entity Monstrum, is super disturbing. In an environment characterized by muted saturation and screams that echo throughout the caves, this monster calmly sneaks his way in, just so he can either feast on some delicious humans or crush them into pulp with his feet. Oh, to be like Monstrum, super gigantic and also pretty nonchalant. Even then, these jokes I'm cracking won't diminish the kind of chills that will be running down your spine once you see even the claw marks of this giant. So if you want to watch a real good period action film that keeps you hooked throughout, then Monstrum shall surely be a great pick. However, the fun fact is that nobody, just nobody, has ever recommended this film to just anyone. The War of the Gargantuas, 1966. Are you also a huge fan of Godzilla films and kaiju cinema, just like me? If yes, then you surely might know about the War of the Gargantuas. Oh, by the way, if you have not watched our videos about Toho's 10 brilliant non-Godzilla kaiju movies yet, then I suggest you should, because we did cover many other underappreciated giant creature features like Mothra's standalone film and Rodan there. It's a savage beast, as expected from every kaiju film, and every inch of it either screams laboratory experiment, man-eaters, or even terrifying giant mountain dwellers. And yes, this 1966 film is actually a loose sequel to one of my favorite Toho kaiju movies of all damn time, Frankenstein Conquers the World. And trust me, the entire film thrives on this intense, visually appealing brawl between these two humanoid monsters, the gentle mountain-dwelling gargantuan named Sanda, and the vicious, man-eating brother of his named Gyra. No doubt the plot of the movie is super interesting, and besides that, watching these two get so engrossed in their fight that they end up damaging public property is also super horrifying. I mean, if I'm allowed to recall what I felt while watching this movie, I won't hesitate to say that I was in awe of it. Sure, Frankenstein Conquers the World is way better than this one, but seriously, we are witnessing this gut-wrenching battle between two humanoid monster brothers. What can even be better than that? Well, shout out to Eiji Tsuburaya, whose awesome special effects blended with Akira Ifukube's beautifully crafted score give this film the kind of life and atmosphere it wanted desperately. Not to forget, legendary filmmakers like Guillermo del Toro have also extended their appreciation for this movie. Fun fact, Del Toro's Pacific Rim was actually inspired by Japanese kaiju and mecha traditions, and this movie was one of his major kaiju influences. So yeah, even if nobody dares to recommend this intense, action-packed chaos, you will still find Pacific Rim chanting the name of the War of the Gargantuas every time a visually appealing action scene pops up. Sector 7, 2011. Moving on, we have yet another South Korean creature film on our list, and it's none other than Sector 7, directed by Kim Ji-hoon, later known for The Tower. Well, this time we're talking about an underwater creature, an oil rig monster, if I'm allowed to be precise. However, the film was actually met with mixed reviews from both critics and viewers, many of whom did not find humans facing off against a CGI underwater oil rig monster that fascinating. Even then, the film, being a 3D one, elevates the terrifying aspects of the monstrosity that takes place on this oil field named Sector 7, located in a sea near the famous Jeju Island. Ha Ji-won is seen playing a marine equipment manager on the said oil field named Hae-jun, who's working with a team of oil rig workers in the field. The turning point in the tale arrives when they all are forced by the circumstances to battle a horrifying CGI sea monster who chows down on humans without any hesitation, something as fun as watching those boring shark attack films. So, if you're a fan of Korean horror films and you want to look at a creature feature from before the industry reached its current level of global recognition, then this one is indeed a great pick. Pulgasari, 1986. Lo and behold, for we have our eyes on this wonderful monster feature, directed and even produced by Shin Sang-ok. Fun fact, this movie was actually made during his abduction in North Korea. Speaking from my own experience, this was my first time watching a Shin Sang-ok movie, so when my Korean-Canadian friend shared the story of Shin Sang-ok with me and the entire lore behind how Pulgasari was made, I was just completely dumbfounded. Plus, it's a remake of the 1962 South Korean film Pulgasari, so if you want to check out the original film, I suggest that you should, but then again, this remake is also no less good. Starring an ensemble cast comprising Kenpachiro Satsuma in the eponymous role, as well as Chang Son-hui, Ham Ki-sop, Ri In-gwan, Yu Kyung-gae, etc., the film introduces us to the most fearsome monster that you'll ever get to see in the entirety of creature cinema, especially because the monster we get to see in this film has remained a significant part of Korean folklore. Moreover, the film is set during the rule of the Goryeo dynasty, which makes the whole piece give off the vibes of a period action film. The film concerns a blacksmith's daughter who unwittingly brings a metal-eating monster to life, which her late father had fashioned before his death. So, if you want to watch an action-packed film with a healthy dose of disturbing sequences of monster attacks, then this film is surely a great pick, regardless of the mixed reactions the film got from the viewers. Deep Rising, 1998. As someone who has thoroughly enjoyed Brendan Fraser's The Mummy movies, I could not help but rush to watch this movie as soon as I found out that it was directed by Stephen Sommers. And funnily enough, I still consider it to be one of the best decisions I have ever made in my life. Actually, as far as I remember, my sister had bought this movie on physical media. "Full screams ahead" is what the tagline read, and that was enough to lure me into its world. The only minus point in this film, however, is that I found the characters quite cliched. In fact, to me, they felt like yet other characters from an action movie you're about to watch. You know, the leading man being courageous, and then him having this wussy side chick who cracks jokes. Even then, the over-the-top cheesiness of this movie does not diminish the fun that you are about to get with this movie, though. I don't know about you guys, but I was actually able to tolerate all the cheesy dialogues, obviously because I'm someone who likes watching campy movies. And then we have this sea creature from the film, super terrifying and grotesque. Well, that's not the only thing that disturbs you while watching this film, because we also have these Lovecraftian aspects that dominate the entire film. Add to that the kind of gore you will see in 90s B-movies, and voila! Even more fascinating is that this movie was supposed to lead into Sommers' remake of King Kong. Ridiculous, right? And this is exactly why y'all should not miss out on Deep Rising, especially if you're someone who watches films whose OTT nature actually becomes a plus point. I would say hats off to everyone involved in the practical effects of this movie because they look so cool. Reptilicus, 1961. So, our next flick is this Danish-American monster film called Reptilicus. And I guess it's safe to say that this film has unleashed one of cinema's strongest giant reptiles that you'll ever get to see with your naked eyes. Set in Denmark, the film concerns a group of workers who uncover a mysterious piece of frozen reptilian tissue during an excavation. However, much to their surprise, this very discovery unfurls their tragic fate as the specimen, which is taken by the scientists, regenerates into a living giant monster in the laboratory. And this is when everything goes awry. Personally, I believe that what made this film pretty fascinating was how unusual the monster in the film actually looks. It's not that random, sleek, scientifically designed creature that you guys might have seen in recent sci-fi movies, or at least even the Godzilla movies and other such kaiju films akin to Pacific Rim. Undoubtedly, Reptilicus has a wonderfully strange appearance. I mean, we all do crave this one thing in all monster films, right? An enormous creature wreaking havoc in the city, damaging properties, killing humans and whatnot, causing the humans to scramble around for their dear lives like worthless ants. Well, this is exactly what happens in Reptilicus 2. However, the most disturbing part of this film is, of course, not the chaos the monster causes. In fact, I think it's just more than that. So is it the fact that Reptilicus can regenerate? Indeed, yes, because that ability renders the monster almost invisible. Even then, the main problem is that by modern standards, this film's effects and visuals may fall flat, and hence the film may end up looking charmingly dated rather than genuinely disturbing. And maybe this is why nobody recommends this film. Q, the Winged Serpent, 1982. And now comes one of my huge favorites, because if you're someone who is really into monster features and mecha kaiju films, then I do believe that you might know about Q, the Winged Serpent 2. But then again, the film's not that mainstream if I'm allowed to be very honest. So, yes, no need to worry because I'm here to explain. Indeed, this one has a really wonderful premise. Set in New York City, the film goes on to pose this one question. What exactly will happen if an ancient Aztec deity suddenly makes up his mind to torment modern-day New York City by hunting down people from the rooftops? Fine. Did I just forget to mention that the monster in this film is just really, really tall? Stand tall, my dear New Yorkers, because at the center of this whole chaos is Quetzalcoatl, this enormous feathered serpent from Aztec mythology who has somehow lost his interest in becoming a protector of humanity. I mean, I can kind of see why an ancient deity like him would actually do that. Perhaps he was feeling very bored. He had nothing to do, so he started killing tiny humans, much like how we kill mosquitoes. Frankly, Q is a super unsettling monster movie. We have this gigantic winged predator who becomes the reason behind a lot of mysterious deaths piling up in New York City before he disappears into the skyline. Somewhere above the streets of a familiar city ruled by hustle and bustle, Q casts his eyes upon the unsuspecting victims before snatching them from their transient human lives. However, the film chooses to take a different approach to the entire story. By blending a gritty crime narrative with that of Q's hunger, it presents an unconventionally grimy atmosphere which almost nobody dares to watch. I remember watching this movie when I was only 7 years old. My father had bought a DVD of this movie, and we had all sat down on that one Sunday evening to celebrate our grandpa's birthday, of course, by watching Q, the Winged Serpent. Just a few moments after this, I had telephoned my childhood best friend because I thought that Q was actually real. Plus, we were living in Manhattan back at that time, so I still remember how frightened my friend was. My dear Michael, if you're watching this, I'm extremely sorry. Primeval, 2007. Our next entry in the list is none other than the 2007 monster feature Primeval, and it is safe to say that the film is aptly titled, of course, because the film's concept is precisely terrifying, for it turns one of nature's most formidable creatures into the centerpiece of a really dark creature thriller. The film concerns a group of journalists who travel to Burundi in order to investigate the reports of a giant crocodile who's seemingly responsible for a series of deadly attacks upon human beings. Despite the journalists' skepticism, the locals seem to fear this crocodile a lot, until much later in the film when the leading characters finally realize that it's certainly not an ordinary creature, Surprisingly, it's not just enormous, but incredibly powerful and also extremely difficult to track. Some food for thought for all of you. Just imagine a crocodile growing to an unbelievably enormous size and hunting down all humans one by one. Isn't that really disturbing? And perhaps this is why the film is super unsettling, because it makes a real-world predator the centerpiece of an adventure-packed monster film. And then there is this heavy tension around the feeling of helplessness that characterizes the entire movie. Even more fascinating is that the uncertainty we see in the initial parts of the film creates a really good build-up for what's to come, no doubt. However, if I am asked to be honest about whether I liked Primeval, I cannot say that it is a perfect creature feature. I mean, it was actually quite awkward for me because its plot sometimes wandered into excesses of melodrama, and I found that really odd. But I can guarantee that the film shall deliver lots of fun. The Food of the Gods, 1976. And then we have the second last entry in our list. It is called The Food of the Gods, and honestly, this film is nothing but nightmare fuel. Shall I give you some more food for thought? Well, okay then. Imagine that due to some strange substance, tiny creatures suddenly become gigantic. Unsettling, right? Well, this is exactly what happens in The Food of the Gods, this film that hit the theaters in 1976. On a remote island, a strange edible substance begins to emerge. However, a farmer and his wife consider it a blessing and then feed it to their farm animals. Well, guess what? The freakish chaos finally begins. Even worse is that rodents and pests also consume the food, and as a result, all these gigantic beasts start terrorizing the entire island. Among the humans who are fighting for their lives is this athlete named Morgan, played by Marjo Gortner, who becomes the centerpiece of this entire film. Because this is a thriller, baby. You'll never know what exactly will happen in the ending because the entire film just keeps you on the edge. The sights of gigantic rats, wasps, and even chickens are enough to send shivers down your spines. I mean, who would even hope for such a future to take place? Blame that farmer for that. Oh, what was his name? Mr. Skinner, I will remember you. However, what actually makes this movie really special for me is that it's an adaptation of an H.G. Wells novel. A loose adaptation, actually. I love H.G. Wells. I remember having read all his 40 novels when I was studying the social realism movement in England. And as much as I love science fiction movies and novels, I deeply adore Bert I. Gordon's take on Wells' 1904 novel, The Food of the Gods and How It Came to Earth. In addition to that, there is this theme of nature's revenge going on throughout the film, which makes it even more fun. So, yes, if you also love Wells's novels, then you should definitely try watching this movie. I'm sure that you won't feel disappointed. And maybe if you are a literature major, good luck, because you are about to find another movie to write a thesis paper on. Big Man Japan, 2007. Now we have the last entry in our list, and it's none other than Big Man Japan. And this one is actually really good. I mean, compared to all other films in this list, this one is not about Godzilla-like monsters. However, there are monsters in this film, including the leading character himself. Of course, it's because Big Man Japan is a sci-fi comedy. It doesn't stay serious in its tone. Hitoshi Matsumoto is seen playing Masuro Daisato, an ordinary human who transforms into a gigantic entity with superhuman powers thanks to electricity. But then again, once Matsumoto's character Daisato transforms into Big Man Japan, he looks absolutely horrifying. And this is how all the kaiju elements of the film then start gathering together. And even at the end of the film, Daisato has to eventually face a really formidable Korean monster. I would say, out of all the films in this list, this one is definitely the best, especially because it doesn't stay serious, nor does it let the viewers have a frown on their faces while watching. So, even if something irrational happens, you'll still be able to enjoy it. So, yeah, happy laughing. And do let me know in the comments which one of these movies you loved the most. Well, that's it. And I hope you guys had a great time learning about all these terrifying giant creature movies, and I'll be even gladder if you take to the comment section below and let me know that you're just as excited as I was while exploring them all. And yes, if you enjoyed this video, here's a humble request from our side. You can drop a like on your end, share it with your friends, hype the video, and also drop your requests in the comment section so that we can cover a topic that you've always loved engaging with. And for more such marvelous videos, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you never miss any updates. Until then, I, Pete Ferrand, promise that I will come back again with yet another marvelous topic. See you later. Bye-bye.